part of Professor Pandey that today afternoon you will be delivering a very, very fascinating lecture. So, as it has turned out to be in morning, I was in Varanasi, but I was doing Gangtok, Sikkim University, taking a PhD viva on political violence and insurgency in Northeast, with a special reference to Sikkim. And thanks to proactive leadership on the part of Professor Pandey, that he has persuaded you very successfully, and you always are so kind to us, sir. I bow before you for your kindness.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, Tabir bhai. So, please allow me to leave Professor Pandey sir and Pundheer sir. आपका बहुत आभार. We look forward कि आप यहाँ आए. मुझे फिर डीन साहब ने बुलाया हुआ है, लेकिन I am so thankful to you for sparing your valuable time. We in our department, sir, फिर से आपका आभार. फिर बात करता हूँ शाम को मैं टेलीफोन से. प्रोफेसर पांडे सर को बहुत आभार. आपसे तो आशीर्वाद हमेशा मिलते रहता है. हम लोग इस कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाएं, because this promises to be. Professor Anuradha Singh has also joined us. Good afternoon, Professor Anuradha ji. ये टॉपिक हम लोग के लिए बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग है. At this point of
the book as a honor that he gave to me to read and discuss something about the Indian history. So it is my pleasure indeed to introduce Professor Pundheer. And nowadays we have a very good relations as a senior and junior, and Aligarh seniority and juniority is very important. And whenever the senior will be there, then everything the senior will do. If we are having food together or anything, the senior, it is responsibility of senior to cater their juniors. And we are basically maintaining this parampara and this tradition today also, and very basically good maintenance we have. And recently, in the last week, I was there at Aligarh and we met, we discussed something about different issues of academics and researches, all these things. By this way, I can say that it is my pleasure to introduce him, and he is delivering his lecture on Sultanate architecture and medieval India is my roti roti. So because of that, I have to basically, it is also good for me to listen his lecture. और इसी के साथ मैं सर को कहूँगा कि आप लेक्चर शुरू करें और हम भी उससे.
Today we have to speak a lot about medieval architecture. Before starting to talk about, tell something about medieval architecture, first of all, I have to discuss what is architecture. You know, this architecture, if you want to study the architecture, you need some expertise, some terminology. You must know some technical words, and it's a prerequisite of the students, the teachers who know about this architecture, who want to study the architecture. What is architecture? You know, architecture simply can be defined as the study of designing and making buildings. Designing and making buildings, nothing else. How to design the building, how to build the buildings. It comes under the purview of architecture. And you know, architecture is having a very intricate relationship with two other engineering disciplines, that is structural engineering as well as civil engineering. Generally, we face a question, so what is the difference between architecture, civil engineering and structural engineering? Once again, please confirm whether you are getting my voice or not. Anybody can confirm? Are you? Okay, done. Architecture means when you create a design of building on paper. This is the work of architecture. Architecture created a design of the building, and it's a structural engineering that fits the feasibility of the design which was created by the architecture. It may be possible a structural engineer can reject the design. It is not feasible. It is not work. It cannot be worked. After passing the design by the structural engineer, then the role of the civil engineer came. Civil engineer executes. Civil engineering tells us how to execute, how to construct the building as design created by architecture, or as structure, the feasibility of the structure is created by the structural engineer. Meaning by today we sum up, whenever we talk about the historical building, we generally confine ourselves architecture. Architecture of this and that. What do you mean? The building is still standing extant. This extant building is also indicating that the architecture is not just sufficient. Somewhere some structural expertise was also involved in the historical buildings, and apart from that, some civil engineering also was there to construct this building. Meaning by architecture, civil engineering, and as well as structural engineering are intricately related with each other. They are very intricately related. And now today I am going to talk about the historical medieval buildings. And architecture, how to design these buildings. Today, in the modern era, what do you mean by architecture? How you design the buildings? Today, architecture is, as a discipline, tells us to design the building in such a way you arrange the space in a particular way with full utility, with full functional utility, as well as having a aesthetic sense. I think my statement is little bit very cumbersome, very full of burden. If I simplify this thing, architecture means how to cover the space, and covering of the space should be happened in such a way it gives a full functional utility, and apart from the functional utility, this building should be decorated, should be having some aesthetic sense. Is that clear? What I want to convey to you? Space arrangement. How to organize the space. Yeah, I know. If you are going to build a hospital, the space is organized differently. If you are built a school, again you have to organize the space differently. And simply organization of the space is not sufficient. This building should be pleasant to our eyes, should have aesthetic sense, should have some, you can say, pleasant look. One can easily like it. And its look should not be hostile and should not be repulsive to the human being. Basically, architecture is having this function. And from the ancient time, and historical architecture is continuously performing this function. And what is the parameters? Before coming on the topic, I should also briefly discuss how you study a building. Building study needs some parameters. How you come to know about what type of if suppose I enter into some old building, then how I come to know what type of the space organization. For that I have to survey this building. And to study the space organization, after taking the measurements, I have to prepare the map, plans or drawings. I think everybody is well aware with the plans, with the map. Today, if you are going to build your house, first you create the map. First you discuss the map, where you need a drawing room, where you need a courtyard, something like that. The same thing was happening with the historical building. Whenever I survey the historical building, the first attempt to take the measurements and created a full-fledged drawing, which you may call in a general language a map of plans. Secondly, second important parameter to study the building is how it looks like in a standing position. if you stand before the historical building, any monument, how it looks like. This elevational plan also indicated the building's aestheticism in a vertical position. Whether this building is having a arches, what type of the things, and how it looks like. The building can be studied, historical building, medieval monuments, all can be studied by creating the drawings and the setting elevational plan. Then the architectural synthesis, architectural analysis took place. Today we are living in the era of a RCC, reinforced concrete cement buildings. Here, there is no need to have a load wall. We can minimize the gravitational pull by using the concrete, iron and cement. But I'm going to talk about the period when there is no concrete, iron and cement, where you have to, by creating the wall, you have to face or harmonize the gravitational pull. You cannot shift the gravitational pull from one place to another place before the invention of the RCC. Before the invention of this RCC, we have three architectural styles. Three methods. First is known as trabeate. This trabeate style is a combination of pillars and lintel beam. It's a very simple style. You can create, I think you are also getting my cursor, you can create the pillars and put a single piece of stone or wood to cover the space. It is also known as post and lintel, and this style is very simple. And here we don't need any shuttering. You may raise a question, sir, what do you mean by shuttering? In layman language, आपने बल्ली चाली लगते हुए देखी होंगी जब कोई लेंटर पड़ता है. If you build any building with this trabeate style, you need no shuttering at all. You simply created the wall, and this wall in the form of the roof, you can put a piece of stone and wood, and you create the roof, and now the room is ready to get accommodated. This is a very simple style. It is very cheap because there is no need of the shuttering, balli chali se hum platform banane ka, there is no need. It's a very workable style, but this style is having some defects. Some, you can see the shortcomings, some demerits. Demerits in the form, we have a very limitation so far as the length of the stone piece is concerned. If I invite you to build a hall, a very big hall, with this style, it could not be possible because you cannot get a piece of stone of 50 feet length. Quite impossible. Hardly how much length of the stone you can procure? Only 10 feet, 15 feet, not more than 10 and 15 feet. It means the building constructed with this style is having a smaller space to cover. The structure may be imposing, but the space covered in a structure is very smaller. And the second style, with this style, we can create the building in such a way. This is a small building constructed with trabeate style, the pillars having a roof in the form of the piece of stone, and this back room is also built in the same way. Another style, which to some extent attempted to replace the trabeate style in Indian architecture, is Corvald style. Pardon, beta, getting my voice?
हिंदी में बताइए सर, हम समझ नहीं आ रहा है.
ओके बेटे, ये दूसरी जो स्टाइल है आर्किटेक्चर की, इसे कॉर्वेल कहते हैं. कॉर्वेल स्टाइल में बेटे स्मॉल पीस ऑफ स्टोन हम लोग यूज करते हैं, एंड ईच पीस ऑफ स्टोन पुट वन ऑन द अनदर, एक दूसरे के ऊपर रखते हुए इनर साइड में हम इसे प्रोजेक्ट करते हैं. आप देख रहे हैं इनर साइड में प्रोजेक्ट किया, एंड देन अल्टीमेटली ये सिंगल पीस ऑफ स्टोन हम उसमें ऊपर रख देते हैं, जिससे ये पूरा कवर हो जाता है. Now you see, the shape of the roof is having a such type of the pyramidal inside. And apart from it, roof की thickness बहुत हो जाती है. You are getting my point? You know, this structure, a large number of the both the stupas were built with this technique that is known as corbelled style. Even in some of our, you can say Kusan period, in the cities of the Kusan period, such corbelled style was used on a large scale. This style also needs no shuttering. कोई भी इसे बल्ली चाली shuttering का यूज करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. But what will happen? This style is not harmonious to gravitational force. In the course of time, gravitational pull इस जो हमने स्टोन रखे इनको गिरा देता है, पुल करता है, तो इनका लोड इन बॉल्स पर ट्रांसफर नहीं होता एंड अल्टीमेटली दिस स्ट्रक्चर गेट कोलैप्स, बहुत जल्दी नष्ट हो जाता है, गिर जाता है एंड इसका कोई भी लॉजिकल कनेक्शन नहीं है. साइंटिफिकली है जो इतनी मोटी छत हमने इस पर डाली है, इट्स बर्डन कैन नॉट बी ट्रांसफर. इसका हम वजन इन दो पिलर्स पर या दो दीवारों पर नहीं ला पाते और अल्टीमेटली ये स्ट्रक्चर जहां मेरा कर्सर घूम रहा है वहां से गिर जाता है और डिस्ट्रॉयड हो जाता है. एंड नाउ यू नो द स्ट्रक्चर बिल्ट विद फॉरवर्ड स्टाइल, यू कैन इजीली इमेजिन कि यहाँ पत्थर पीस ऑफ द स्टोन गेट प्रोजेक्टेड टुवर्ड्स इनसाइड और इस टाइप की शेप बनती है. यू आई थिंक यू अंडरस्टैंड हियर. ओके, अब मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों मिक्स कर दूंगा.
Yes, sir.
The third, with these two styles, the third, you know very well, there was a tremendous development of the mathematics in Rome. And in Rome, with the development of the mathematics, new techniques of the, you can say, building construction got invented. जिसमें एक सबसे बड़ी साइंटिफिक उनकी टेक्निक थी, that is arcuate style. Arcuate style means the use of arch. Arch, what is arch? In Hindustani you can say arch is mehrab. Arch is based on a principle of a circle. If there is a circle here, if you put a pressure on the circle, the pressure get divided on the both sides. It never comes at the lowest point. On the same principle, इसी सिद्धांत पर arch बनाई गई and arch, true mehrab is composed of two things. If you want to build a arch, you have to put a shuttering. बल्ली चाली लगा के पहले you have to create this space, this half circle. Then you put a these stone and then you put a keystone. After some time you can pull down, आप shuttering को निकाल देंगे. Then this arch is sufficient to bear the load of the building. And this arch is built on a scientific principle. वैज्ञानिक सिद्धांत पर बनाई गई. इसमें जो भी बिल्डिंग का इस पर लोड आएगा वो दोनों साइड की वॉल्स पर अपने आप शिफ्ट हो जाएगा. With the help of this arch, you can cover a great space in the comparison of the building built with Traviate and Corwell style. I think you followed. Huh? Any student who can get it confirmed, you followed? Okay. You know, arcuate style and half circle arch was invented in Rome. Then it migrated to the Central Asia, and ultimately this half circle arch needs a expertise in the shuttering. एक half circle create करना मैथमेटिकल कैलकुलेशन और एक्सपर्टीज की डिमांड करता है. अल्टीमेटली सेंट्रल एशिया में जब ये हाफ सर्कल आर्च आई तो उसको पॉइंटेड कर दिया गया. लुक्स लाइक दिस आर्च एंड दिस पॉइंटेड आर्च नीड्स लेस एक्सपर्टीज इन द कंपैरिजन ऑफ द सर्कुलर आर्च. विद दिस इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ दीज few important terms, few important technology, I now proceed to medieval architecture. Medieval architecture, you know, after the victory in the second battle of Tarain, Muhammad Ghori directly rushed up to capture them. He reached at Delhi and took shelter, and all the army got accommodated in the right with him. in Torah, he needs, in Islam, the Friday, a structure is needed to perform the Friday namaz. That is known as mosque. It's a beginning of, and Muhammad Ghori built a first mosque of northern India that is known as Quwwatul Islam Mosque. This mosque in itself as a concept is a new introduction in Indian architecture. This mosque indicates rather a beginning of the synthesis of Indian architecture with Islamic architecture. This is the first building having an Islamic concept in the form of a mosque. Here the technique is Indian, भारतीय थी, जो टेक्नोलॉजी बिल्डिंग टेक्नोलॉजी यूज की वो भारतीय थी, और दूसरा जो इसका पूरा मैप था वो पूरा का पूरा इस्लामिक था. एंड दिस मॉस्क was built on a traditional plan. What is the traditional plan of the mosque? What is the traditional plan? You cannot build mosque anywhere or in any shape. It needs some expertise. As per the traditional plan of the mosque is having a central courtyard, and on the northern, southern and eastern side having a cloisters, having a veranda, and having a main gate in the center of the eastern side and two subsidiary gates in the center of northern and southern side. The main prayer hall that is known as Western Levan is existing on the western side. This Western Levan, this Western prayer hall is known as Western Levan, L-I-W-N Levan. It's a technical term. And this courtyard is also having a hall, water tank for evolution that is very necessary, important part of the performing namaz. And this is a traditional plan. And this first mosque was built as per the traditional plan. There is a central courtyard and having a cloister on northern side and southern side and eastern side. On the western side, we have a Western Levan. This Western Levan is a prayer hall. But what would happen? This Turkish army, Muhammad Ghori, and all the commanders, they were not knowing the original fresh source of stone. They don't know, because now the whole army is stationed in the Raipur. They are totally ignorant about the geographical condition of Delhi. They don't know from where fresh supply of these stone they can get. On the other hand, the need to have a mosque to perform the Friday namaz is pressing very hard to this Turkish army. Ultimately, what was happened at 27 small temples, Vaishnav temples and other temples, they got dismantled and their material was used to construct this mosque. And there is we have a 3 inscription on this structure, and as per one structure, as per one inscription, the inscription that is existing on eastern gateway, inscription in Tughraik style, it clearly indicates that the building was built with the material procured by dismantling 27 temples. And they procured the old material, but they have faced a very great crisis here. The temple of the material is engraved with the sculptures of the man, human, God, goddesses, so many things. In Islam, the depiction of the sculpture is totally provocative. But they are so, Muhammad Ghori and their commander, they are so pressed that they have to build the mosque. They use these structures, the old pillars, old beam, old lintels, and they constructed this the whole structure. But they need some height of the cloisters. What they did, they put a one pillar on the another to achieve the height. एक पिलर के ऊपर दूसरा पिलर रख के बरामदे की हाइट बढ़ाई गई क्योंकि बरामदे हमें ऊंची रूफ के चाहिए एंड द होल बरामदा फ्लैटली रूफ। आप देख रहे हैं एक छोटी सी हम गुम्बद नजर आ रही है, डोम नजर आ रही है, इट्स नॉट ए रियल डोम, ये बस एक इंप्रेशन डोम का क्रिएट किया। इन द सेम वे they created the Western Lebanon. If you see the position of Western Lebanon, it's a back rear picture. The Western Lebanon, this hall, prayer hall has been created by putting one pillar on the anode, and they used the old roof of the temples that were known as lantern roof. They used to construct this prayer hall that is Western Lebanon. But they did something different with this Western Lebanon. They created a screen on the Western Lebanon in front of the Western Hall. They created a screen. They created now you change my cursor, they created a whole screen in front of, you are getting my cursor? In front of this Western Hall, they created a screen, created a wall type of the screen. This screen is composed of, ये स्क्रीन जो क्रिएट की गई उसमें 5 आर्च थी, 1 is bigger and 2 are small. This screen technically known as Maksura, and this screen though existed in front of Western Hall, but it's not a part of the Western Hall. ये screen independently created. For the first time, arch was introduced in India. It's a beginning. Though earlier arches have been used, but on a very meager level. On only 1 or 2, 3 examples we are having. But for the first time, arch have been introduced. Now, but what will happen? These arches are false arch. These arch are not true arch because they lack keystone and radiating stone. Then how these arches have been created? These arches have been created through Corwell technique by projecting the stone in the shape of the arch. Now you can see with attention that now stone is projecting. Arch की shape तो दे दी गई, but these arches are not true arches because the technique to build these arches is purely indigenous, that is Corwell technique. Arch आ गई, but these arches were built in a Indian technique, that is Corwell. And another important aspect is that now you see if there is a little bit curve at the point of arch. ये जो arch का point है उसमें कर्व है, थोड़ा सा ये कर्व किया गया. नहीं हो रहा है अभी आपका लाइट का स्टॉप देखना. Getting my voice? Yes sir, हमारी आवाज पहुंच रही है. यहाँ पर स्लाइड नहीं शो हो पा रहा है. स्लाइड रिकॉर्डिंग स्टॉप. स्लाइड नहीं, अब हुआ बेटे स्लाइड नहीं सर, अभी भी नहीं दिखना. Let me start again. There is some network issue, I think so. Getting my slide now? Yes sir, yes. Take slide. If you are not is there any problem? If there will be any problem, you immediately interrupt me. Okay, no problem. And these arches, इसका जो point है arch का, this point is OG. This point is OG. Just listen. These are not the pointed arch. यहाँ ऊपर के में थोड़ा सा कर्व आ गया. These are inspired from the niches of the temple. You know, builders जो masons थे, कारीगर थे, वो तो Indians थे. बट जो बनवाना चाह रहे थे आर्च बनाई भी उन्होंने, लेकिन कुछ उन्होंने अपना कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट कर दिया. दैट इज नोन एज ओजी आर्च. ये ओजी जो शेप ऊपर के फॉर्म में आई, ये पॉइंटेड नहीं है एग्जैक्टली, और थोड़ा सा कर्व है यहाँ पर. दैट दे हैव बिकॉज़ दे आर ट्रेन्ड इन देयर बिल्डिंग. So the first thing here, the synthesis started. Indian techniques थी, but the arch is the migrated from Central Asia to India, and the shape is totally aligned and it's coming from the outside. Now you see a large. Getting my slide? I have changed my slide. You got it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, a large number of the questions generally we face, sir, these pillars have been used. Why there is an, you can say, at that time, एक मजबूरी थी कि हमें बरांडे बनाने हैं, हमें ये पूरा स्ट्रक्चर बनाना है. अब we don't know from where fresh supply of these stones we can get. अल्टीमेटली वो पुराने टेम्पल्स के जो स्टोन्स यूज किए गए, जिसमें घन पल्लव और टिपिकली ये 12वीं शताब्दी के पिलर से जो उन्होंने यूज करके टेम्पल, और आप देखिए रूफ भी उन्होंने बिल्कुल वही फ्लैट रूफ डाल दी, इसका क्लियर कर दिया. अब नाउ ओके, मैप यानी प्लान ऑफ द मॉस्क, इस्लामिक आर्चेज, इस्लामिक, एंड द टेक्निक इज इंडियन. इट्स ए बिगिनिंग ऑफ द birth of a new style that is known as Indo-Islamic architecture. So far as this structure is concerned, उसमें सिर्फ स्ट्रक्चर में नहीं, इसकी डेकोरेशन में भी बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चेंज है. Two important decorative Islamic decoration was introduced here. दो इस्लामिक डेकोरेशन, डेकोरेटिव मोटिव्स को इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया कुरान इस्लाम मॉस्क में, और ये जो थे एक तो कैलीग्राफी, एंड आई थिंक ऑल ऑफ आर वेल अवेयर विद कैलीग्राफी. दीज आर द कुरानिक वर्सेज, एंड कुरानिक वर्सेज को पर्शियन में वो किया गया प्रोफिक एंड नस्की स्टाइल. दीज आर द कुरानिक वर्स. एंड नाउ यू सी हियर दिस कैलीग्राफी इज एग्जीक्यूटेड इन कार्विंग. Carving is an Indian technique, and the theme is Islamic. Another important feature, decorative feature, Islamic decorative feature which was introduced for the first time here is F.S.S. F.S.S is the floral designs जिनको stylized कर दिया गया. And now you see, and some F.S.S took place here. now floral designs को stylized कर दिया. Third important decoration feature is wavy designs. Wavy, W-A-V, wavy designs. Wavy designs are Indian designs. So in decoration, the both things came. This is a synthesis, perfect synthesis of calligraphy, F.S.S and wavy designs in carving. Decoration, it's a beginning of the introduction of very important Islamic features, decorative features, and Indian decorative features. A synthesis started. It's a beginning of the composite part. After Quwwatul Islam Mosque, next year, Gauri rushed up to Ajmer. He built a mosque that is known as Adhai Din ka Jhopra. There is a lot of debate why it was named as a Adhai Din ka Jhopra. Some say it was built in a 2.5 days. There are so many debates, but this structure is an example of an advancement, one step ahead of Quwwatul Islam. आप देखिए यहाँ जो मकसूरा स्क्रीन बनाई गई वेस्टर्न हॉल के सामने, इट इज कंपोज्ड ऑफ 7 आर्च. बड़ी बिग आर्च थी. साइड की आर्चेज में यहाँ मल्टी फॉलेशन, दोनों आर्चेज में मल्टी फॉलेशन मिला. ये मल्टीफोलेशन मल्टीकस्प आर्चेज आप जानते हैं, एनग्रेव्ड आर्चेज भी कहलाती हैं, ये जो शाहजहां के पीरियड में बड़ी पॉपुलर हुई, बट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम इट वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन दी का जॉब। एंड यू नो जो फर्स्ट सेंट्रल आर्च थी, इट इज ए बिगर आर्च, एंड ऑन द टॉप ऑफ द बिगर आर्च तो दोनों कॉर्नर्स पर छोटी छोटी जनरेट्स की गई जो टेक्निकली टरेट्स कहलाते। अब now you are getting my slide. I have changed it.
Yes.
Now you see the plan. Again, this Aidanka Chopra was built on a traditional plan, having a central courtyard on the southern side, eastern side, and on the northern side we have a cloisters veranda. On the western side, a prayer hall, and this prayer hall is having a maksuba screen. This screen was built separately. It was not having any logical connection with the western. Again, to achieve the height, ऊंची छत डालने के लिए यहाँ पर वेस्टर्न लीवान में तीन पिलर्स को यूज किया गया टू पुट वन ऑन दी अनदर। और आप देखिए जो रूफ भी वो की गई, पुरानी ओल्ड बिल्डिंग्स की रूफ यहाँ पर यूज की गई। The third important, I'm still moving in the, you can say, in the period of the slave dynasty. The third important structure was built, can be found in the form of a Qutub Minar. Qutub Minar, you know, there is a lot of debate why this. Some say this Qutub Minar was built for the Azan. You know, if you give a Azan by going upstairs to this building, I think nobody can listen at the ground level. And this Qutub Minar is an advancement in the synthesis of Indian and Islamic. And from where it was inspired, the builders, they got the inspiration from the Central Asia. There is a large number of the towers. There was a tradition in Central Asia to build such type of the towers. And this tower was built in, you know, like the, you can say, in Fojabad in Persia, there is a tower. In large towers you can easily get located in the Central Asia. You know, this tower also having, this Qutub Minar is also having a one inscription that is, जो इसमें शिलालेख हमें मिला वो बताता है it was completed, its construction was completed in 1199. Presently, this minar is a 5-story minar. Originally, it was built as a 4-story, but unfortunately, 4th story was destroyed by the lightning, and ultimately, during the Firozshah Tughlaq, the 4th story which was destroyed in the lightning, was rebuilt by the Firozshah Tughlaq, and he added 4th and 5th story. Presently, it's a 5-story building. Originally, it was built as a 4-story tower. You know, this structure is divided into 5 stories with the help of these projected balcony. In balcony से इस टावर को हम 5 स्टोरी में बांट सकते हैं। यदि बालकोनी एब्सेंट कर दी जाए तो आप यू कैन नॉट काउंट एनी स्टोरी। And this story, these balconies, these projected balcony is based on the bracket. और जो ये balcony जिन brackets पर हैं, these brackets are known as honeycombing brackets. And this honeycombing prevailing in Asia as well as in India both places. And now, you know, this structure is having another important thing. It's not a circular. The lowest story is having a flutings. ये जो आप डिजाइन देख रहे हैं, that is known as flutings. One circular flutings, another angular. One circular and another angular. It is full of flutings. इसका जो सरफेस, इसका जो फैसाड है, फेस है, बिल्डिंग में फेस को फैसाड कहते हैं. It is full of flutings, इस type की flutings. One circular, then alternated by angle. This is the first story flutings. In the second story, we have a circular flutings only. In the third story, we have a angular flutings. The west story is having a circular alternated by angular flutings. Second story is having a circular flutings, and third story is having an angular flutings. And rest of the two story is having a circular, having no flutings. कोई भी flutings वहां नहीं आपको मिलेगी. This structure is very important. I tell you one very technical aspect of this structure. This structure was built with brick, and this buff and red sandstone was pasted on the surface. अब ऐसा लगता है ये पूरी पत्थर की बनी हुई है, but the inner structure is built with brick and the mortar is lime mortar. Inside this tower we have a spiral staircases. Spiral staircases. And this structure is also a step forward in you can say in regard to the decoration. Here, what was happened? Here we got the two type of the decorative bands, calligraphic decorative bands, and RSQ, stylized floral designs. Stylized floral designs you can get here, and all these two Islamic decorative features have been executed in engraving. Engraving is you can say, Indians having a mastery on engraving, Nakasi जिसे हम बात कहते हैं. Yeah, these two decorative features have been achieved in Nakasi. And so far as this Quranic verses and calligraphy is concerned, each calligraphy is the display of the Quranic verses, holy Quranic verses in Nask style. In Persian, the style is Nask. And after this building, another building which was found in the campus of the Qutub campus. Now there is a Qutub campus, and you can say on the western, you can say northern western corner, on the back side of the Quwwatul Islam Mosque, we have a square building. This square building is a tomb of Iltutmish. It's a square building, but here, technically, this building also represented an advancement in the architecture. This square building from the outer is very plain building, and in the center on each side we have a gate, arched gate, and this smaller arched gate is placed in a bigger arch, and inside this is a square chamber and containing the grave of the Iltutmish. But here, another important Islamic technique was introduced. That is the phase of transition. आप लोग ये पूछ सकते phase of transition क्या है सर? How a square is converted into a circle, because circle में हमें convert करने की क्यों जरूरत पड़ रही है square और rectangle structures को? Because the dome is circular. This phase of transition, this technique generally we uses to convert the square into a circle. Or there are two stages in this. In first stage, circle square is converted into an octagon, and in the second stage, octagon is converted into a 16-sided polygon. Or 16-sided polygon is providing almost a circular base to the dome. In this, how this phase of transition has been achieved? Phase of transition, now you say octagonal बनाने के लिए हमने corner में arch को डाल दिया. When we use arch in the corner, in the phase of transition, ये आर्च स्क्विंच कहलाती है, स्क्विंचेस। अब सेकेंड फेज ऑफ ट्रांजिशन में हमने नई आर्च को यूज किया, हमने स्लैब ऑफ द स्टोन हैव बीन यूज्ड, और these slab of the stone which have been used in the phase of transition are known as pendentics. आप देखिए अपने आप ही छत ऊंची होती जाएगी जब आप इस टाइप से पहले ऑक्टागन में, इस स्क्वायर कमरे को ऑक्टागन में कन्वर्ट करेंगे, आर्च डाल के फिर ऊपर आपने एक स्लैब डाल के ऑलमोस्ट आपने बेस बना दिया छोटे सर्कुलर डोम। अब आप कहीं सर डोम कहां गई इसकी फिर, but dome was built in a forward technique. True dome नहीं थी. That's why dome of Iltutmish got fell down. But here a new technique, that is phase of transition, became a part of the Indo-Islamic architecture. You are getting my new slide?
Yes, sir. You are good.
There are so many other buildings we can locate and identify belonging to the slave dynasty, but to your surprise, still there is a lot of debate and dispute on the identification of these buildings. For example, some very ruinous building, some of the scholars they identified it belongs to the Balban, it's a tomb of Balban, but others say no, it's not a tomb of Balban. We don't have any conclusive evidences to identify and to locate these buildings, to identify these buildings. And these are the few buildings which started the trend, pattern or synthesis of the Indian and Islamic architecture. It's a beginning of the Indo-Islamic architecture. Next stage came in the medieval development of the medieval architecture during the period of the Khalji Empire. Khalji rule. You know, Khalji dynasty came in the power in 1290, and then Alauddin Khilji succeeded the Jalaluddin, and then Alauddin Khilji initiated a large number of the building builders. बहुत सारी बिल्डिंग उसने प्लान की बनाने की, and but unfortunately हमारे पास एक ये अलाई दरवाजा रह गया है, ये साउथ गेट है, तो इस्लाम मॉस्क को इल्तुतमिश ने बाद में एक्सटेंड कराया, फिर उसके बाद अलाउद्दीन खिलजी ने भी एक्सटेंड कराया, उसका ये साउदर्न गेट हमारे पास दो स्ट्रक्चर हमारे पास अलाउद्दीन के बचे, खिलजी पीरियड के बचे। इस पीरियड में सेंट्रल एशिया में देर वाज डेवलपमेंट। मंगोल्स दे डिस्ट्रॉयड द सल्जुक एम्पायर, एंड नाउ a large number of the artisans, masons, expertise, Sangtara, so many, you can say, experts belonging to the building technology, they migrated to India. And Khalji rulers, they extended their patronage to these artisans and masons. But what was its impact, cultural impact? They introduced these masons, expertise who came and got shelter in Khalji, under the Khalji rulers. They introduced the features of the Seljuk architecture in the Khalji architecture. Meaning by Khalji architecture is having a 2 and 3 important elements migrated from the Seljuk Empire. And now these masons and artisans, they are well trained. These artisans and masons, they are well trained in making and constructing a true arch. And the result is that this squarish gateway, Alai Darwaja was built, and here the arches are true arch. बिल्कुल ओरिजिनल आर्च थी, जिनमें की स्टोन्स भी थे, रेडिएटिंग स्टोन्स भी थे. And apart from it, the shape of the arch is now horseshoe type. घोड़े की नाल जैसी horseshoe type arches. This shape is the Seljuk shape of the arch. अब आप देखिए जो pointed है, but लेकिन their shape is horseshoe. And you know, on the inner side of the arches, these fringes have also been introduced, जिसको आप लेमैन लैंग्वेज में कहेंगे तीर जैसे कुछ डिजाइन्स बना दी गई. These are the fringes decorating the inner side of the arch. Now, meaning by Alai Darwaza is a important surviving structure having the true arch. Tomb of Iltutmish is having a arches built with the corbel technique. But the first building having a true arch is this Alai Darwaza. Here the decoration, now you see red sandstone and white sandstone have been used to create the decoration. Inner, it's a squarish gateway, squarish gatehouse. From outside, the facade face of the building is divided into two zones, 2-story. Inside, this structure is single story. From the outside, this impression has been given it is of 2-story, double story, but inside it's a single story. And you know, this darwaja, this Alai Darwaza is surmounted by a circular dome. Since arch is true in this building, the dome is also true. True dome means having a radiating stones, course of radiating stones coming from all sides and using the single keystone. आप ये समझ लीजिए डोम, यदि हम एक मेहराब को रोटेट कर देंगे तो वो डोम बन जाए. So this is the first scientific building which was built. Another important building which Alauddin planned is a Alai Minar. Getting my voice?
Yes, sir.
Slide. Have some slide मिल रही है?
Yes, sir. Slide is visible.
And you know, this Alai Minar was double in size to the Qutub Minar, but unfortunately it was remained unfinished. Now you see, it was also built having a fluting, ये lower story a fluting नजर आ रही है, brick structure है, इस पर अभी पत्थर पेस्ट नहीं किया. You know, Khalji dynasty is replaced by Tughlaq dynasty. And you know, Tughlaq, this is a phase when we have a menace of the Mongols. And Tughlaqs, they plan to create a building on a large scale. On a very, very large scale. What was happening? And Tughlaq rulers, they came in power. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, who came from the western region, and they assumed the Sultanate and he declared himself as a Sultan. He planned a large number of the building projects. But he is having a sort of time because there was a menace of the Mongols. Then what was happened? He created, rather Tughlaqs, they all created such type of these structures with a cyclopean wall. इन वॉल में आपको ढाल नजर आता है, cyclopean walls है. क्यों? Because they never use the fully dressed stone. They use the rubbles. And जब आप rubbles को यूज करेंगे, जो प्रॉपरली शेप में कट नहीं है, जो स्टोन प्रॉपरली शेप्ड नहीं है, तो बिल्डिंग वो दीवार हमेशा स्लोपिंग हो जाएगी, साइक्लोपियन हो जाएगी. He built a very massive fort in Delhi that is known as Tughlaqabad. And now this Tughlaq, when it was constructed, it was having a well-planned space organization. In one area there was a building of the novels, in another area there was a royal palaces, but now everything is got collapsed. Because the rubbles were used, not shaped stone were used, rubbles were used, and these rubbles caused the destruction very soon. Second important, this is a tomb of, but during this period, a large number of the important buildings were built, like the tomb of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Originally, this Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq tomb, this structure was existing in a artificial water lake. And if you believe Ibn Battuta, It is in the form, this tomb of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq is in the form of a small fortress, है, छोटे किले के रूप में है. ये एक झील में स्थित था. If you believe in the words of the Ibn Battuta declared this small fortress as to keep the treasure during that time. तुगलकाबाद फोर्ट से इस स्ट्रक्चर तक आने के लिए कॉजवे, एक रास्ता भी बनाया गया है. Because it was existed in water, a causeway was built which connects the Tughlaqabad fort with this building. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq building, it looks like a small fortress. On one side of this small fortress, we have a small square building that is a maqbara of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Now you see here, the walls are sloping. Walls इसकी भी आपको slope नजर आ रही है. Because again, semi-dressed stone have been used. Semi-dressed stone, not fully dressed. The verticality of the wall get affected when you use rubble semi-dressed stone. And this structure, is having a four at the cardinal point. इसके चारों directions के मध्य में, बीच में आपको आर्चेज के गेटवेज मिलेंगे. एंड इट वाज सरमाउंटेड बाय ए ह्यूज सर्कुलर डोम. अब ये डोम पहली है जिसको ऑक्टागोनल बेस पर रखा गया, ड्रम पर रखा गया. तो क्वेश्चन अराइजेस कि भाई इसमें ऑक्टागोनल ड्रम क्यों बनाया गया जिसके बाद इसको डोम क्यों किया गया. दिस ऑक्टागोनल ड्रम इनर साइड accommodates the squinches. पूरा फेज ऑफ ट्रांजिशन, स्क्वायर को सर्किल में कंप्लीट करने का पूरा फेज ऑफ ट्रांजिशन यू कैन गेट. इसके आर्चेज सब ट्रू हैं, डोम ट्रू है. एंड वन और इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट कि दीज आर्चेज इज नॉट ए ओनली आर्चेज. हियर आर्च एंड लिंटल कॉम्बिनेशन हैव बीन यूज्ड. लिंटल बीम डाल के, इफ यू सी यह बीम डाल के इन आर्चेज को रोका गया. अब क्वेश्चन उठता है कि व्हाई इज इट ए डेकोरेटिव अटेम्प्ट कि पहले लिंटल डाल दिया, बीम डाल दी, फिर वो आर्च बना दी. नो, बिकॉज द बिल्डिंग मटेरियल इज ए सेमी ड्रेस्ड और रबल स्टोन. उनको रोके रखने के लिए आर्च कैन गेट फेल डाउन. तो आर्च को रोके रखने के लिए आर्च जहां से स्टार्ट होती है वहां पर एक लिंटल, एक बीम डाली. It's a structural necessity. Building material, just because of the use of such a building material, they have to synthesize so many things here. Lintel Traviate style का है, arch arcuate style की है. It's a combination of the Traviate and arcuate style. And now you see this dome is crowned with a different motif. अमल खां एंड देन कलश मोटिव. अभी आपको इन्वर्टेड लोटस नहीं मिलेगा जो आपको मुगल आर्किटेक्चर में काफी. दिस स्ट्रक्चर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. तुगलक पीरियड में जितने भी सुल्तान की टूम बिल्डिंग बनी वो स्क्वायर थी. दिस इज ए फर्स्ट टूम बिल्डिंग, स्क्वायर टूम. मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक का हमें मिला नहीं, बट टूम ऑफ फोर्थ तुगलक वी कैन आल्सो गेट. इट इज ए स्क्वायर बिल्डिंग. नाउ यू सी, अब इसमें जो सेंट्रल पोर्शन था इट वाज नॉट प्रोजेक्टेड. सेंट्रल गेटवे, सेंट्रल आर्चवे वाज नॉट प्रोजेक्टेड आउटसाइड. इसको बाहर निकाल के नहीं बनाया गया. बट व्हेन यू रीच टू दिस टूम ऑफ रोशा तुगलक, नाउ यू सी जो एंट्रेंस है उसको बाहर निकाल के प्रोजेक्टेड किया गया. इट्स ए बिगिनिंग ऑफ द प्रोजेक्टेड एंट्रेंस. जो पिस्ता या जो आगे एंट्रेंस को हम प्रोजेक्ट करने के बाद जो बड़े गेटवेज बनने बाद में बनाए उसकी बिगिनिंग यहां से. अब आप यू कैन इजीली अंडरस्टैंड. नाउ इट्स ए आर्च और बीच में लिंटल और ब्रैकेट की सपोर्ट. इट्स ए ट्रेविएट स्टाइल और देन इट्स ए आर्कुएट स्टाइल. दिस इज ए कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ ट्रेविएट एंड आर्कुएट स्टाइल. दिस इज ए ग्रेट सिंथेसिस ऑफ द इवन आर्किटेक्चरल स्टाइल्स. नाउ सी इन फ्रंट ऑफ इट आप देखिए स्लोप आ रहा है वॉल्स में, प्लास्टर्ड है स्ट्रक्चर, यानी अंदर सेमी ड्रेस्ड और स्टोन स्टोन्स ऑफ विदाउट एनी शेप यूज किए गए, जिसकी वजह से ढाल स्लोप आया वॉल में 45 डिग्री तक इंक्लाइनेशन आ रहा और इसको ऊपर से प्लास्टर कर दिया गया. नाउ द क्वेश्चन arises, why it was plastered? Because now you see yourself, इस टाइप की स्ट्रक्चर्स में कोई एस्थेटिक सेंस ब्यूटिफिकेशन नहीं. अब प्लास्टर इसलिए जरूरी था इन बिल्डिंग्स पर क्योंकि रफ सरफेस आ रहा था, उस पर हम कोई डेकोरेशन नहीं कर सकते. इन तुगलक पीरियड whatever architect decorative features we got, all got in a stucco executed on the plaster. प्लास्टर तो भाई स्मूथ स्टोन स्मूथ नहीं है तो उसका एनग्रेविंग की नहीं जा सकती, तो प्लास्टर करके प्लास्टर पर कोई ना कोई डेकोरेशन बनाए. You know, Tughlaq period is known for the mosque. There are two types of the mosque built during the Tughlaq period. One type of the mosque, these are the traditional type of the mosque. Traditional type of the mosque, if you recall your memory, I have already told you, having a courtyard in the center में एक courtyard होगा और उसके उत्तर में, दक्षिण में और पूर्व में बरांडे होंगे और पश्चिम में प्रेयर हॉल होगा. एंड यू नो, built a very mosque here. Now you get one thing, that these all mosques are existing on a one story high. One story high. You can raise a question for what existed in the first story? Nothing. And the first story height has been achieved through the arches and pillars. And now this terrace is built, and now you see the eastern gateway of the Jama Masjid of the Fosha Kotla is in the form of a gatehouse. और जब आप फर्स्ट स्टोरी पर बनाएंगे तो you have to give in the staircases to approach the mosque inside. And it was a traditional mosque built on a traditional plan, but you know, there is a great advancement built here. A milestone was created in the form of a Begumpuri Masjid. Begumpuri Masjid, you know, is having a Begumpuri Masjid is having a central courtyard surrounded by the veranda on northern side, southern side or eastern side, and a veranda type hall on the western side. जो वेस्टर्न लीवान है यहाँ पर वो और बरांडा जैसा बनाया गया. बट इन द सेंटर ऑफ वेस्टर्न लीवान एक पिस्ता, a pylon was built. A great pylon was built. And it's a beginning of the pylon in Indian architecture. You know very well, the successor state, whether it's a Sarki dynasty at Jaunpur, Sultans at in Gujarat and Malwa, they have all inspired from the Tughlaq architecture. And in the development of these regional architecture, Tughlaq architecture get assimilated with the local architecture and gave new birth. But Tughlaq architecture was remained there. Even you know, in the Deccani state, especially the Bahmani kingdom and so many other states, they come up later on. They all are having the inspired from the Tughlaq architecture. And this pylon, आप लोग कहेंगे pylon क्या है? Pylon is a great gateway to enter into the central part of the Western Levan. Or central part of the Western Levan is known as nave, N-A-V. और आप देखिए इतना बड़ा गेटवे बनाने हुए हैं, इसके पीछे जो गुम्मद है वो इससे कंसील हो जाएगी, छुप जाए. So on the both corners we have a tapered मीनार. अगेन आप कहेंगे tapered मीनार का क्या यूज है? भाई this structure is again built with a semi-dressed stone, not the stone which was not cut in a proper shape and resulted into the slope. तो ये मीनार बना दी गई, कहीं गेट में आगे न गिर पड़े, पीछे न गिर पड़े, और प्लास्टर किया. इसके बरांडे, बरांडा क्लॉस्टर, चाहे वेस्टर्न क्लॉस्टर है, वेस्टर्न लीवान है, चाहे नॉर्दर्न साउदर्न ईस्टर्न है, ऑल आर divided into a square compartment. Each square compartment is surmounted, roofed with a small dome that is known as cupola. This Begumpuri Masjid is, now you can easily understand that behind this gate, behind this central pylon, the dome was hidden, concealed कर दी गई इसके पीछे, और ये features India उसमें चलती है. This is the first type of the mosque built in Tughlaq. Second type of the mosque are the crucified form mosque. Now you see, it's a squarish mosque, the great mosque that is known as Khirki Masjid. Here there is no central courtyard. आप इसमें अपनी डायरेक्शंस को चेंज कर दूंगे, इस किबला को हटा दूं तो you cannot identify the western Lebanon कहाँ है. Having a small four courtyard and all spaces arranged in a cloisters in a similar type of the veranda. But because of this Qibla, because of this you can say Kaaba, indicate any direction to the Kaaba, Pais Kaaba, this Qibla, we can identify that this portion is functioned as a western. Now you see, this is again the whole cloisters square shape में थे उनमें अंदर compartment. Each square shape compartment is surmounted by the small dome that is known as cupolas. And now you know these two type of the mosque, Khirki Masjid, 5 or 6 these crucified forms are found belonging to the Qibla. So 3 or 4 you can say traditional type of the mosque is still surviving belonging to the Qibla. And one very important change came in the Qibla period, that is in the form of a octagonal tombs. Now keep one thing in your mind, the squarish tomb building are reserved for the sultans under the Tughlaqs, and octagonal tomb building was built by the nobles, and the very important building which was built by the noble is the tomb of Khane Jahan Telangani, the Wazir of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. It is built on a squarish plan, and you know there is a central chamber. On all sides there is a cloisters, and these cloisters having a 3-arched opening, and on each side cloister, हर side के बरामदे के ऊपर एक छोटी सी छतरी होती है. मेरे जी क्वेश्चन कि आप नए फोटो यहाँ पर क्यों नहीं लगाए, to your surprise this area is so congested, so encroached, कहीं से भी हम नए पिक्स नहीं ले पाए. And these are the beginning of the octagonal tomb under the Tughlaq. And first octagonal tomb of is Mubarak Sayyid, having a central octagonal chamber surrounded by cloisters, and everything is here, arch and dome, all are true original. And you know, then what will happen? Then after Tughlaqs, after a brief period, then the Sayyid and Lodi dynasty came in the picture. Sayyid and Lodi, they clubbed together. Why? Because you know, during this period, Delhi was transformed into a necropolis. More than 50 tomb buildings we got belonging to the Sayyid and Lodi period. And during the Sayyid and Lodi period, the octagonal tomb building was reserved for the sultans, and square tomb building was reserved for the nobles. There is a whole, it was a complete change in the orientation. And on the plan, on the, you can say, resembling to the tomb building of Khane Jahan Telangani, then it's a tomb building of the Muhammad Sayyid, or now you see there is a central octagonal chamber, जिसमें आपकी grave है, and having a cloisters veranda on all sides, 3 arches. And each veranda is having a chhatri, and in the central octagonal chamber is surmounted by a very huge dome, and this huge dome is surmounted by a inverted lotus कमल का मोटिफ यहाँ. इसके बाद सेकंड टूम बिल्डिंग जो बनी वो दैट इज ऑफ सिकंदर लोदी. एक सिकंदर लोदी की भी थी, सिकंदर लोदी की भी टूम बिल्डिंग ऑक्टागोनल टूम बिल्डिंग है, हैविंग ए सेंट्रल ऑक्टागोनल चैम्बर. एंड नाउ यू सी, अब इनके कॉर्नर्स पर भी बटरेस है, स्लोप आ रहा है. This slope they have borrowed from the Tughlaqs. Plaster है, जितनी भी हमें decoration मिल रही है, plaster पे मिल रही है. They have also used semi-dressed stone. But under the Sayyid and Lodi period, some square tombs we have got. These all belongs to novels, but unfortunately we fail to identify the novels. So these square stones have been, ये हमें platform tomb building भी कहा जाता है इनको. They are known by their local name, like बड़े खान का गुम्बद. Now you see, it was adjusted on a platform, and from outside it looks like a 3-story हो अंदर से, but it is of single story inside or surmounted by a huge dome. Now you see यहाँ पर caveated style की entrance, original है, lintel and brackets. It was surmounted by a arched opening, and ये combination arch and caveat combination बाद को in a bigger arch. Another like छोटे खान का गुम्बद. Again it looks like double-story building, though inside it's a single story, and the entrances were built with a caveat as well as arcade style. It is also existing on a platform. यहाँ पूरी building में थोड़ा सा slope नजर आ रहा है, and it is plastered because a roughly dressed stone has been used in it, and thus it is surmounted by a very huge dome and having a chhatri pillared pavilion at the corner. In the same way, we also got one more square stone belonging to the Sayyid Lodi Bade Gumbad, and like Sheesh Gumbad, again built on the same principle. And you know, very interesting two tomb building, Dadi ka Gumbad and Poti ka Gumbad. And now you see, these represents the tomb buildings, a different type of the tomb buildings which were built during this period. I think I have already taken a lot of time. I would like to stop here. You know, even on the architect, we have attempted to complete 4 or 5 dynasties, architectural project of the 4 or 5 dynasties here. And there is a
really very nice lecture, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
It was really very engrossing, involving. And it was such a lecture that we could, I should say, the whole attention was just directed towards your lecture. And it was very revealing, very enlightening, I should say. In the very beginning, I should say not today, some days back, there were persons who were saying what one would say about medieval architecture or the architecture under the Delhi Sultanate. Only the things would be taught about the Torpor. but the way, sir,
Panditji, sorry to interrupt you. You know, I remain unsaturated because, you know, even on each monument, I have in this 15 or 16 monument, you know, on each monument, there should be a single lecture because each monument is having a large number of the architectural implications. But, you know, anyhow, we give a very word eye view of all the things, and I request you to invite the students.
Yes, sir. I can understand. Yes, it is very exhaustive a topic, an encyclopedic topic. You covered in such a minuscule manner. Now I invite my students and the learned audience to come up with the questions or observations. All the teachers from different colleges they have joined, from different parts of India they have joined, and my students also in different colleges of Banaras University and in the main campus they have joined. So I invite to come up with the observation or questions or queries or any explanation. The house is open.
Even I invite the students and please ask the question. Though the question is a question, whether it's uncomfortable or not, I'm ready to answer because for the last 25 years I'm working on in this field.
Please,
Thank you so much, sir.
Dr. Sachikesh is having done his PhD from our department under Professor
Gangadharan, and now he is teaching here. He is an assistant professor in one of the affiliated colleges founded by Dr. Any Besant. So, Rashikesh, please come up with your query, please. Thank you so much, sir. It's our privilege to listen, sir, and all. Hello, I am audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. जी सर, तो सबसे पहले तो सर आई लाइक टू कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट यू सच ए वास्ट टॉपिक, जैसा कि सर ने बोला, और बहुत ही विस्तार से सर आपने इसको अपना ज्ञान प्रस्तुत किया, स्पेशली फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द मेडिवल आर्किटेक्चर, मुस्लिम डायनेस्टी, एंड किसी अलग अलग जो रूलर्स थे उनके समय में कैसे आर्किटेक्ट जो है वो डेवलप हुआ, और बहुत ही माइक्रो लेवल पे आपने इसको बताने की कोशिश की और इसके डिफरेंसेस को बताया, एंड आई होप कि हमारे विद्यार्थी जो इससे परिचित हुए होंगे और काफी जो है उनको लाभ मिला होगा, क्योंकि जिस तरीके से इंडो इस्लामिक कल्चर का फ्यूजन हो रहा है और आर्किटेक्चर से किस तरीके का इसका प्रभाव हो रहा है, फिर आपने तुगलक डायनेस्टी तक के बताया, कुछ रीजनल डायनेस्टी जिसमें आपने काफी डायनेस्टी का भी उल्लेख किया। तो मैं कुछ बस थोड़ी सी मेरी छोटी एक थ्योरी है, इसमें यह है कि सर इससे पहले अगर हम आर्किटेक्चर का स्टाइल देखते हैं बिफोर प्री मेडिवल टाइम पीरियड की अगर हम बात करें, तो सबसे पहला जो आर्किटेक्चर स्टाइल हमको स्तूपों में दिखाई देता है, जो बौद्ध स्टेट इंडियन अगर हम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखें, तो क्या इसका कोई प्रभाव हमको दिल्ली सल्तनत के आर्किटेक्चर पर दिखाई पड़ता है, इनके बिल्डिंग के ऊपर, या उनका जो फ्यूजन हो रहा है इंडियन आर्किटेक्ट के साथ, तो इसका कुछ प्रभाव दिखता है सर?
ये ऋषिकेश साहब, एक बात आई मस्ट टेल यू वन थिंग वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, आर्ट एंड आर्किटेक्चर या एनी फाइन आर्ट हैज नो ब्रेकिंग पॉइंट कंप्लीट। कहीं ना कहीं टेक्निक को कैरी ऑन हो रही है। आपने सांची स्तूप का लिया, सांची स्तूप को जब एनलार्ज किया गया, ब्रेक स्तूपा को जब बड़ा किया गया, तो जो स्टोन्स रखे गए थे उसके ऊपर और जो स्टोन्स की एनकेसिंग की गई थी, उस टाइप की स्टोन की एनकेसिंग हमें तुगलक पीरियड में मिल रही है। आप कहेंगे क्या उससे बोरो कर लिया? भाई देखिए, जब आप बिना ड्रेस किए हुए स्टोन को यूज करेंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं कर्वेचर डेवलप हो जाएगा। आप मेरी बात समझ पा रहे हैं ऋषिकेश सर? एक बात। दूसरी बात, टेक्निक, आप कोई नई चीज इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकते हैं, बट दिस न्यू थिंग इज नॉट न्यू। व्हेन वंस इट वाज इंट्रोड्यूस, इट स्टार्टेड टू इंटरेक्ट विद अदर फॉर्म्स। आप बुद्धिस्ट आर्किटेक्चर का इन्फ्लुएंस इवन कॉलोनियल आर्किटेक्चर तक आया। आज हम लोगों ने उसको एलिमिनेट कर दिया, जो मॉडर्न आर्किटेक्चर है जिसमें आरसीसी आ गया। अदरवाइज कहीं ना कहीं किसी फॉर्म में आपने फोर्स ऑफ तुगलक का जो मैंने टूम बिल्डिंग दिखाया था, इफ यू रिकॉल और मेमोरी, उसके सामने जो रेलिंग बनाई गई, इट इज ए बुद्धिस्ट रेलिंग, बुद्धिस्ट आर्किटेक्चर का। और नाउ यू नो मिस्टर हेवेल, हम लोग उस हेवेल को बहुत बुरा भला कह देते हैं, बट हेवेल वाज ऑफ द ओपिनियन का जो सर्कुलर डोम है, वो इट इज इंस्पायर्ड फ्रॉम दी सर्कुलर अंडा ऑफ दी सांची स्तूप। दूसरा, शेप को भी हम छोड़ दें तो टेक्निक इज ऑलवेज कॉन्टिन्यू, कभी ना कहीं किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में टेक्निक, कोई ब्रेकिंग पॉइंट नहीं है। ये नहीं है कि 2021 तक ये टेक्निक यूज खत्म, ये कोई मोबाइल नहीं है एकदम 5G आ जाएगा, 7G आ जाएगा, नहीं। टेक्निक इज सब्जेक्ट टू, यानी यू कैन से इवॉल्व, कहीं ना कहीं वक्त के साथ वो लगातार चलती है। कैन नॉट रूल्ड आउट द बुद्धिस्ट इन्फ्लुएंस ऑन मेडिवल आर्किटेक्चर। यस, देयर इज ए इन्फ्लुएंस, हमें इस डायरेक्शन में भी और काम करना है।